Hello all, this is the Owl, and as requested, today we'll be doing part 2 of our series on Tsutomu Nihei's absolutely bonkers and frequently impenetrable existentialist cyberpunk nightmare Biomega. And this time we'll be covering both volumes 2 and 3. Before we start, I want to give a big thanks to our bard patron Polite Crow, who is the one that requested this series. And yes, remember when I said that this manga becomes steadily more and more difficult to follow? This is where that really starts. Now, one quick thing. As mentioned, I won't be going too deeply into chronology or trying to explain the overarching inverted commas plot, close inverted commas. Instead, we'll be doing that right at the very end, as it is rather a lot. Anyways, let's get cracking. Volume 2 opens with a series of gorgeous full-color pages showing that the drones have invaded Toa's headquarters and absolutely overrun it. Ditto the, okay, we're going to start separating out the DRF and the PHS now, so let's say PHS troops and a particularly nasty inspector with a drill for a finger. They are attempting to get a Toa bigwig, Dr. Kurokawa, to tell him about Zoichi who, if you recall, succeeded in absolutely pantsing them last volume. Believe it or not, none of this is important in the least. Honestly, this is why we're doing volumes 2 and 3, as volume 2, while gorgeous, is mostly superfluous to the overall what story there is in this huge grab bag of weird sci-fi, gorgeous art, and complete frigging wibbly-woo. They are also giving everyone N5S to turn them into drones, including, I guess to establish that they are massive dicks, Kurokawa's daughter. We'll get back to this. A reminder, yes, this manga is very hard to follow at times, with sparse, even Spartan dialogue and exposition, but it's not really a manga about the story. It's more about just drowning you in its art, its tone, its mood, and its setting. Does that make it original? Does that make it really frigging pretentious? Somewhere in between? I will let you decide. Anyway, we see Zoichi riding his awesome bike over another of those ocean-spanning mega highways. He's headed to Toa headquarters, while Fuyu warns him that this is a suicide run, but because it's been at least 5 pages without a massive battle, he is intercepted by some sick-ass fighter jets, but he goes through them like paper, blasting one to bits with his pistol and using his axe sword to commandeer the second, using it to okay, yes! This is ridiculously cool. Completely spank the massed PHS fleet before launching a full frontal doom assault on their barricade. He is, however, too late to save. I think this is Kurokawa's daughter. Regardless, he soon comes face to face with the drill-handed inspector we saw earlier. We get an extended cutaway sequence in which we learn a few things about Zoichi and synthetic humans like him in general. And yes, this is the wibbly-woo. In a nutshell, they are grown in a system known as the Shikiomi, twinned with an artificial intelligence, in his case Fuyu, and raised to adulthood in a sort of compressed temporal and dreamlike virtual space, which closely resembles what I think might be feudal Japan by Kurokawa's daughter. Yes, this manga is all the drugs, but this does mean that this Slipknot-looking anal fisher just basically infected Zoichi's mum. The pair fight, the inspector transforms, but he's easily defeated by the brokenly overpowered Zoichi. Then, yet more backstory. Although this seems to be occurring within the virtual space of the Shikiomi, only not really. Regardless, we learn that the N5S was accidentally created by the DRF, as part of their experiments to achieve immortality, and it absolutely devastated the Mars colony. These synthetics were created to, I think, prevent an N5S based apocalypse back on Earth. We learn that, yeah, this isn't the Shikiyomi, it's an interface for Fuyu and Kurokawa, generated by Zoichi's helmet, I guess, to allow them to say farewell, as we get to watch her, in the present, die a very splushy death as the virus takes hold. Mate, a bullet to the brain would have been a lot more humane. And yes, I'm sure that I was supposed to feel sad here, but that would require me having a firmer grasp on what the hell is going on in this manga half the time. Anyways. We get some more exposition. Zoichi self-destructed the Toa headquarters. The plague has basically covered the planet now, with only small, isolated groups of humans remaining, and the DRF/PHS are now completely running the show, like something between Chaos Marines and the Combine. Unable to rescue Kurokawa, Zoichi redoubles his efforts to locate and save Aeon. We get some weirdness, showing the virus and her DNA interacting, and the DNA is winning for some reason. Yes, this is explained later, and yes, the explanation is somehow even more confusing because Tsutomu Nihei, the PHS in the meantime, are basically forcing the remaining uninfected to, well, be infected in what is becoming a religious crusade to them, and we rejoin a now hook-handed Kozlov, yes, the bear, talking to another synthetic by the name of Nishu, who is teamed with an AI named Taida. He's also searching for Aeon and is headed to his father's place, okay, in the hopes of maybe finding some clues. We learn that the PHS want to use the virus to transcend their humanity, but before they can, they need to fully understand it, which means understanding accommodators like Aeon and why they interact with the virus so oddly. Apparently, the PHS are also after them because I think they have in their possession a weakened version of the virus, which they want for some reason, but as always, this is just a quick breath before another battle. As, in an extremely Resident Evil series, something lands on the roof of the train and begins cutting its way in. Kozlov clambers up, and oh crap, that's Higui there, the extremely powerful, I guess elite inspector that we saw curb stomp a frigging synthetic in Volume 1. Yikes, you are in trouble. However, before Higui there can carve up some kumasashi, something catches him and sends him flying in. No, holy shit, this is absolutely frigging balls dope, dragging him along a wall and then slamming him into the opposite one. Yes, this is awesome. Again, while Nihei does tend to piss in the cereal when it comes to storytelling and general ease of comprehension, his art, his battles, and his sense of geography absolutely rule. Biomega is so insanely cool that it wears sunglasses and a duster coat at night. And honestly, that's enough. And yeah, that's Nishu. And her bike is, how do I even describe this? It has over a dozen robotic crab legs in addition to its standard loadout, and with Higuide down and hopefully out, she tells Kozlov to jump on. So yeah, let's take stock. We have a superhuman synthetic riding an Akira bike with crab legs on top of a speeding train, attempting to rescue a talking bear with a hook for a hand from a biomechanical Cenobite in the middle of a cyberpunk zombie apocalypse. I have no idea where to even start. Anyways, we get another pretty sweet battle sequence where PHS grunts attempt to take her down, but she defends herself pretty handily, using the legs on her bike as a bullet shield and then taking them to pieces with her own pistol, before blasting the train itself and causing all the cars behind them to jackknife into the air. Yeah, there's no way I can do some of these panels justice. That is just awesome as all hell. However, Higuide quickly returns to the fight, slicing through the train and bursting through up in front of them. Nishu fires that high-power shot, but he somehow evades it, and we finally see the limitations of their weapons. After using that single powerful shot, the gun cannot be used until it recharges. Uh-oh. Nishu faces off against the apparently unstoppable Higuide, using the legs of her bike to deflect his whips, although he cuts through them without too much difficulty. Her AI then disconnects the final car, attempting to create some distance, and he responds by sending out his whips again to bring them closer, but she is able to deflect them at the last second, and they escape. Yeah, that was amazing. She then captures Kozlov, and in some more of Nihei's patented borderline impenetrable exposition, we start putting together some more history. It turns out that the DRF, the current big bad, were originally a company known as Microvolt, who offered services to significantly prolong human life, including brain transplants. Seriously, why have 2 manga I have covered recently involved transplanting human brains into a bear? Is this a thing in Japan? Regardless, the reason she wants Kozlov is because he is, apparently, the child of one of the founders of the DRF, Leif Grigoriev. Bloody hell, we will go with Leif for now. And I will warn you, Leif will be a bit of a MacGuffin for a while, and his actual nature is one of the most confusing parts of this entire bug nuts manga. We cut over to Zoichi, and Fuyu tells him that she's located Eon. She is on the Continental Geostationary Satellite, which is currently held above Earth. But my biggest question is, why is she still wearing the bear suit? Is she a furry? Is this some kind of max level outfit? Is this an effort to emulate Kozlov? Is this Nihei's kink? Is she planning to invade that island from Wicker Man? Anyone know? Let me know in the comments if you understand the significance of the sodding bear suit. Come on, Nihei fans, what have you got? However, as always, because this manga cannot take a frigging breath, something picks him up, bike and all, and slams him into a concrete wall hard enough to embed the bike there. He's able to break loose, and we see, oh crap, yeah. It's that Esper lady wrapped in a biomechanical suit of armor, consisting of threads or cables of some kind, standing upside down on the ceiling because I guess that's just what Espers do to look cool. Also, this has to be a nod to Todd McFarlane. Seriously, the cape and the way it billows at the bottom is kind of a giveaway. Zoichi tries a counterattack, but she just deflects his bullets with her psionics, then retaliates by sending out threads from her costume with enough force to punch through his chest and drive him through the wall behind him. Yeah, mate, she is at least a mini-boss for sure. However, she's not exactly bright, as she directs some grunts to dismember him so that he can be captured. But rather than using her clearly insane abilities to, I don't know, maybe just twist his limbs off or something, the grunts try some sort of pneumatic cutting device that doesn't even scratch him. And yep, see what I mean. You've just let him get back to his feet, and in one of the goriest panels of the manga thus far, seriously, holy crap, decapitates one, partially decapitates another by kicking him so hard the top of his head comes off, awesome, and then just raises merry hell, killing perhaps a dozen of them before the figure nails him again with another blast, sending him flying. Realizing that he's kind of outmatched here, Zoichi says that he's taking his bike and going home, carrying it one-handed by the way, and then jumps off the building. What? We cut over to the satellite itself, where 2 of the lower inspectors are addressing something. and we learn that the black-clad figure's name is Kadaru. Oh, the thing they're talking to is going to be one of our big bads for a while, a huge cybernetic Lovecraftian abomination who kills one of them to, I don't know, demonstrate its own ridiculous psionic power. Yeah, by the way, keep an eye out for stuff like this, as it'll probably ring a bell to any fans of other seinen manga. Seriously, it is hard to overemphasize how influential Nihei was, with probably the most notable nods I can think of offhand being some of Yusuke Murata's designs in One Punch Man, ditto the way he draws a number of attacks. You'll see what I mean later on. And yeah, I swear, if Hiroya Oku and Tsutomu Nihei got into some sort of transport accident and were spliced together, you know, like that one Voyager episode, yeah, the really depressing one. No, the other really depressing one. The one with Tuvix, damn it. They'd probably become Yusuke Murata. Anyways, Zoichi recovers from the battering he took from Kadaru, and despite his injuries, he intends to bum rush the satellite and rescue Eon anyway. Yeah, okay mate, you do you. We get some truly gorgeous panels and rejoin Kozlov, watching a bunch of PHS mooks trying to hold off a large number of drones. Dude, you're the buggers that made these things. Not sure what you're so upset about. And yes, if my voice sounds a bit funny, I am currently fighting something. But yes, Kozlov, I would like to know too. Nishu, meanwhile, is trying to find Kozlov some food, only to hear a firefight unfolding. It turns out that Kozlov just opened fire on the grunts for reasons. Nishu massacres the grunts and they change location. And we also get, oh haha, it's a joke, probably Nihei's first. She brought him honey because, you know, bear, but he doesn't like it. Over at the satellite, it looks like the DRF are calling in their elites, including these two characters, as well as Higuide and a few other elite-looking inspectors. Just don't get too excited. You barely get to see these two doing anything at all. I also think that a design in One Punch Man, this guy, is a direct nod to this. We furthermore see that Zoichi is coming, and yeah, this panel also kicks ass. He's being chased by an elite inspector driving the Batmobile, just plowing through drones at an insane speed. Yes, the manga is action scene after action scene, but they're very good action scenes. And the whole thing is fun as hell if you don't care too much about unimportant things like, you know, a narrative that doesn't make your brain squeak trying to follow it. Nihei finally nails the car, using a curve to sight it, but the inspector, this many-eyed sniper dude, actually plugs him a good one before getting blasted himself. Now there is a sort of subplot involving the bullet being poisoned and Zoichi needing an antidote, but it goes nowhere whatsoever, so we'll skip it. Zoichi then finds a survivor and asks her what's happening, but it turns out that, okay, something else is going on, this manga, but after telling him that the DRF and or the PHS will soon complete their research using Eon, then transform humanity. And oh, she's an esper? Is this Kadaru? We'll see, I guess. And spoiler, yes, this is actually Kadaru. Regardless, she yeets him through a wall and leaves. And if that seemed random, well, yep. And what if I told you that Nishu will soon exit the manga stage left and never return? We jump to yet another location and see the big octopus dude. Okay, his name is Narain. I kept wanting to call him Narain, but looking at the katakana, it is indeed Narain, so we'll just go with that for now, and he is being briefed on yet another plot ingredient to add to the stew of confusion. Eon isn't just an accommodator, she's fully immortal, capable of regenerating from any injury. We also learn about another immortal, Rirodo. Hang on, Rirodo? Reload? What is going on in this manga? Regardless, that closes out Volume 2. Volume 3 opens with a few absolutely glorious establishing sketches before we move to another area and time to see, okay, this is an inspector pre-mutations, and he's looking for someone called Narain Megunado. Yes, Narain, as in the horrible octopus monster boss, as well as a young woman who seems to be in charge. We will soon learn that her name is Niarudi. She enters and finds a hollow-eyed young man who immediately blasts her with psionic energy, twisting and mangling her arm, all while white, worm-like tendrils emerge from his body. Ectoplasm? I don't know. Regardless, we see that she is not completely human either, taking his hand with hers, which is webbed and partially cybernetic. Back in the future, present, this manga, we see one of the two armored swordsmen looking at what might be the DRF's attempts at creating synthetics. Maybe these are the high inspectors like Higuide, I don't know. Regardless, the central body is later revealed to be something for Narain to transfer into, likely an upgrade from his current Davy Jones body. Wait, how long ago was that released again? I'm so old. Anyways, we are introduced to yet another character, Dr. Wildenstein, who's doing some sort of spooky mad scientist crap here, presumably what the swordsman has been sent to deal with. And okay, so I am going to let the cat out of the bag here a bit, jump ahead, and explain something that is going to make sense of stuff that is going on now and will happen soon. And it's also why I've been referring to the DRF and the PHS as two distinct entities. Narain, the hollow-eyed man that became the octopus monster thing, and Niarudi, the web-handed woman that came to visit him, ran the DRF together until Narain, who was the head honcho of the PHS, split off from the DRF for reasons that will be sort of explained later. Long story short, they both want to alter humanity, but in very different ways, with Narain being kind of the good guy, as so far as that term applies to anyone in this manga. They are now sort of at war, as while both of them want really weird shit, it's not the same weird shit. Regardless, however, Narain and Higuide arrive, attacking the swordsman, twisting off one of his arms with psionics, and showing him that the other swordsman and inspector have been killed, dismembered, and strung up on hooks, because apparently there was a duel? No, I have no idea what that's about. Regardless, we get a pretty weak source fight. The swordsman attacks Higuide, running him through, but losing most of his head in the process to Higuide's whips. Fine. Meanwhile, in Latveria, no seriously, this has to be a nod to the iconic Marvel design, and it did make me smile. We enter the DRF headquarters and see, nope, still lost at sea here. A large number of inspectors are going on about Narain and the duel. So as mentioned, Narain is part of some splinter sect, the PHS, which appears to have gone rogue. It's not especially important, cool explosions go boom. Again though, note the awesome art and architecture here. I guess when you're an evil organization, you sometimes just need your Doom Fortress to look like something out of the Dark Crystal. That said, we do get a very brief look at a figure that is probably Niarudi, the web-handed cyborg woman from earlier. There is clearly some connection between her and Narain beyond work. Back over with Kozlov, they want to find Leif, but have no idea where to start, or if he's even alive. Zoichi, thus, heads off to the satellite, and Nishu and Kozlov head to Leif's old place, where they find... I don't know who this is, but they're surprised to see him still alive. And this mostly exists to give us, you guessed it, more exposition. They learn that the old dude is actually a first-generation synthetic, and they ask him if he knows where Leif is, as Nishu tells everyone that Leif took something from the DRF. Something crucial. By the way, again, the Leif stuff, this is one of the primary things that confuses the pants off me. We will get there when we get there. And speaking of confusing things, this next bit, oh man. They suddenly come under attack by a weird mech that fires what initially looks like laser beams, but in reality it's highly pressurized stuff. Kozlov loses an ear in the assault, but the old man is more concerned about what the liquid is. Nishu grabs a hold of the flying drone, removes her glove, and reveals her absolutely bonkers robotic arm, a trope that I've always loved by the way, and uses it to wreck the thing, causing it to crash. However, some drones wander into a puddle of the liquid, and let me do my best here. They immediately begin to melt, merge together, and turn into, I don't know, those huge, horrible, oddworm things from Berserk. That begins swallowing everything up, and where it swallows drones, it grows bigger and bigger. We get an absolutely awesome escape sequence as the group desperately tries to evade the huge meat shoggoth thing, and they are able to get out of the city before this happens. I will spoil a few things here. That liquid that was being fired is some sort of growth medium that interfaces with the drones, and yeah, instant meat city, just add zombies. The liquid has its own name, but as I struggle to pronounce it, we'll just call it the goop for now. Now there is actually a reason why this stuff exists. We will learn part of the truth soon after. Niarudi, one of the two big muckety-mucks along with Narain, created this fluid in an attempt to, in the old man's words, improve Earth's environment, which, spoiler, means making a great big meat planet. And yes, I am so confused, and we're not even halfway done. A reminder, I will do my level best to explain the plot right at the end. Anyways, they get their next destination, the satellite, same as Zoichi, which appears to be where a massive, multi-sided final conflict between all of these disparate forces will occur, with the DRF's plan to create a meat planet for whatever reason. They need to evacuate, and that's the only viable route. However, this will also be the evacuation route for the DRF, but the PHS, Narain sect, currently occupies the satellite as their base of operations, and this almost immediately results in some infighting between the inspectors, and I think these are supposed to be the new pseudo-synthetics like Higuide, but nothing comes of this. So yeah, regardless, we're setting up for one hell of a battle as we slowly close in on the climax of the volume. And spoiler, it does not disappoint. Aboard the satellite itself, things are pretty chaotic, and we cut over to Kadaru, who it turns out isn't a complete psychopath, as she expresses some concern for children in a shelter from the virus. I do sometimes wish that Nihei did a little bit more character exploration, as she's actually rather interesting. As we'll learn, the implication is that she's the good soldier, not bad at heart, but will do really bad things when ordered to. Regardless, she suits up alongside Higuide, and they and the rest of Narene's forces prepare for battle, forming up on the base of the huge spire, which I think is supposed to be a space elevator leading up to the satellite. Oh yeah, there's this subplot involving a stupidly huge howitzer-like gun that uses brainwaves to fire shells, powered by nearby troops, but I think mostly by Eon, who I have no idea, and I don't think this ever gets explained. It eventually gets taken out by one of Nearudi's mechs. And sure enough, the war is on like Donkey Kong, playing ping pong with a big bong, as a variety of intimidating mechs, including these kick-ass things that appear to be mostly made of knives, start emerging from the ocean en masse, decimating the grunts. At a distance, Fuyu and Zoichi see the battle unfolding before heading in, giving us a look at some different grunts. I think these are the DRF ones as opposed to Narene's PHS sect. The helmet at least makes them distinct, thank heavens for small mercies. But as you'd expect, Zoichi goes through them like butter. Inside, it appears that the PHS are getting pushed back despite their best efforts. Kadaru is injured and a lot of the grunts are dead, with them pulling back the inner chambers and sealing the way behind them. We also see that Narene is doing a thing. I think the implication is that he's being transferred to that huge new body we saw earlier. Higuide, meanwhile, is also pretty banged up, but appears to have massacred his way through the DRF. Grunts, mechs, and all. Zoichi and Fuyu, on the other hand, realize that if the DRF unleash more of the goop and create their meat planet, it's basically game over for humanity. So, much like at the end of Volume 1, their priority shifts from recovering Eon to preventing a global extinction. They're attacked by, what do I even call this? DRF meat ships? Yeah, let's go with that. Zoichi deploys that insane rifle again and mows one down, with the recoil driving him, bike and all, through a wall and into the satellite complex, sick as. Nearudi arrives, along with two armored figures. Yeah, that's her behind the mask, aiming to kill everyone here and capture Eon for herself. Kadaru protects Eon, I think that's her, even though, where's the bear suit? And holds off the DRF with costume spikes before coming face to face with the armored samurai figure known as the Guardian of the Left, who Zoichi takes out almost comically as he arrives. Whatever, he then squares off against Kadaru yet again, telling her that if she wishes, she can leave peacefully, so long as she turns Eon over to him, which, as I assume he rolled a natural 20, she actually does. Narene's transfer isn't going well. Apparently, his brainwaves are being copied to another brain, which is resisting, and we see those ectoplasm-like tendrils emerge, signaling that he's using his own stupidly powerful psionics, I'm guessing to brute force it, as Nearudi arrives, melting through the wall with her own. We then get a bunch of exposition, as Nearudi reveals a bit about what the hell has been going on in these last two volumes. In a nutshell, and please keep in mind that this is me trying to make sense of things, Narene wanted to transform and grant a transcendent immortality to all humans in what was to him a vaguely religious crusade. Think of him as a more tentacled version of Wazukian. I guess at least he didn't turn any little girls into massive superstructures. This was the original goal of the DRF, as proposed by the mysterious Leif. Nearudi, however, is the one that went rogue, as she reasoned that this mission would result in overpopulation. Instead, she wants to kill off most of humanity, letting only a few survive who would then be immortal, likely via the whole meat planet gambit, which, by the way, is probably the strangest phrase I've said all month. Narain is then apparently killed unceremoniously, as is Dr. Wildenstein, but the latter suddenly mutates into, nope, that's a great design, and he reveals that he has had a partial success, creating a new variant of the T-virus, the N5S, and he has also given this to Narain, so he'll be getting a triple upgrade. Oh dear. And yup, it's time for one hell of a boss fight. A tremendous psionic explosion shakes the entire complex and Narain 2.0 emerges. You can't see it, but he appears to have two penises. Nihei, why? Do I even want to know the reason? Regardless, this thing has godlike power. Narain's own EXP, magnified by transference into a powerful synthetic body, and then enhanced again by the newly refined N5S variant. And yes, I'm doing a bit of a nod and a wink here when I say godlike. You'll see what I mean. In response, Niarudi begins to scatter drones everywhere, then prepares to hit them with the goop. But Narain starts touching them, and they transform into beautiful, idyllic humans. What the fuck is going on in this manga? But yes, we have now wandered into weirdly religious symbolism, and I think a little bit of blood is coming out of the corner of my eyes. Niarudi, realizing that things are going sideways, releases the goop, and this happens, as Zoichi closes in on her and holds her at gunpoint. Her other bodyguard moves in to attack, but is confronted by Higuide of all people, who kind of tells Zoichi that he has this. Zoichi, in turn, orders Niarudi to knock it off and stop the gooping, but she says that it's too late. It's being spread all over the planet, before briefly knocking him aside with her psionics and taking off in a mech. Bugger. And then things go insane, as the Meat Shoggoth and Narain fuse together. And you know what? As this closes out Volume 3, and I need a bit of a sanity break, that's where we will end this for today. Yes, on a cliffhanger, my apologies. I really need a bit of a run-up to attempt to cover Volume 4, as, believe it or not, this is where the manga gets strange, but that will, unfortunately, have to wait until next time. Anyways, before we finish for the day, we just want to give a massive, special, double owl fist bump to our amazing patrons, without whom making these videos would be literally impossible. Seriously, last month, yet again, you helped us squeak out rent and groceries, so yeah, massively appreciated. Cheddar, Crazy, Question Man 6, Hunting for R2D2, Inukia Koji, Kelkor, Cali Caris, Opinion Custard, Piece of Yeast, Ranger Danger, Rose Montgomery, Sally Face, Woggle, Ad Clear Andrew, Camiolon, Cheshire Quill, Endymion, Aaron Arnold, Fluffy Burb, Jake, Catstown, Lance Goebel, Nate Corbin, Oishi Pun, Rafferty, Simone, Squid, William, Yorgborg, and hashtag Hermit. I also want to give a very special thank you to our two Owlbard patrons, Jathus and Polite Crow, that is absolutely and insanely generous, to the point of being complete bananas, and I really do not know how to sufficiently express my gratitude. If you want to see more like this, there are plenty of other videos on the channel to watch, and if you haven't already, I would definitely recommend watching Uzumaki, Made in Abyss, Gantz, Lollipop or a Bullet, or Starving Anonymous. So yeah, like, subscribe, and all that good YouTube stuff. If you want to help us out, you could always head on over to our Patreon. A subscription of any tier will give you access to exclusive videos, early videos, patron-only perks, some fun stuff on the Discord, as well as a unique chat channel. White Whistle tier and above patrons also have a direct say as so far as to what series we'll be covering, so if that is of any interest to you, sign up over there. If you want something a bit different, you could also commission some art from Mrs. Owl. You can see samples and prices over on her channel, and I would get it done fast. Slots are filling up. All links are, as always, in the description. Otherwise, my friends, take care and cheers. For now, this is the Owl, signing off.